This video is all about winter plant care here in Southeast Queensland. It's actually part one of 2 videos. It was requested by some of the lovely members of our local plant club, and I thought it might be something that you guys really enjoy as well, because I don't know about you, I personally enjoy learning about how people look after their plants in different parts of the world, and just how much it can vary from how we look after plants here in Southeast Queensland, but also how many similarities there are as well. This part one video is definitely more data dumping style than what I normally do, and I have to sadly admit that my autistic scientist brain absolutely loved it. I have a bit of a list from Plant Club of all the dot points that they wanted me to cover. We'll be talking about things like watering, food, sunlight, humidity, all the key plant care points and how they might change with seasonal changes. And of course, I'm going to throw a number of plants in there as well for us to look at, because it wouldn't be a plant care video without it. And then as I was recording part one, I realized I haven't given you guys a plant update in such a long time. So I thought I'll make a part two and we'll just nerd out over plants. We'll have a look at some of the plants that are making me smile, some of the plants that I have in rehab that may or may not be doing well, and 1 or 2 new additions. But for now, let's dive into this video, part number 1, and talk all about winter plant care here in Southeast Queensland. I hope you really enjoy it, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. And I know for anyone who's familiar with Southeast Queensland, you might be going, Mel, do you guys even get winter in Southeast Queensland? And look, that is so very, very true. In comparison to many parts of the world, we really do get quite mild winters. But even with that mild seasonal change, there are still a number of things that I need to do. A change of season often means a change to humidity levels. So I'm keeping an eye on my plants that do require that higher humidity, because here in Southeast Queensland, for example, our humidity can dip down even a little bit less than 50%. Whereas in summer, oh my goodness, sometimes here it feels like it's 100%, but it's definitely in the 80s and 90s. I'm also watching for things like both heating and air conditioning can actually dry out plants. So I am just keeping an eye on heating devices that can dry plants out that little bit quicker. In winter, we get less sun. The sun is lower in the sky, so it will actually enter the house differently. But also with less light comes less water use for plants. I'm using the finger dip test a lot, or I'm relying really heavily on my self-watering pots just to watch for changing water needs in plants. And sometimes, because you're using those heating devices, it can actually mean that plants are a little bit thirstier than what they are in summer. Or if a plant's not anywhere near heating, it might be getting less sun and therefore using less water. Regardless, I'm just keeping an eye out for any change in watering needs. In general, here in Southeast Queensland, winter is a time for us to just take a bit of a breather. Although I never take my eye off the ball, I am always checking when I water my plants, just keeping an eye out for pests. But in general, I can take a bit of a breath and know that it's not like summer. So summer is the prime time here, particularly for what did I have last summer? Grasshoppers, caterpillars, mealybugs seem to be the favorites around here as the weather warmed up. Also, I've got a note here, propagation pause. Your plants in general, even when they're inside, you will notice that they'll slow down a little bit. So don't expect the propagations to happen as quickly as in spring and summer. My Ficus taniki, for example, that is out the front, so it's one of my very favorite plants. It really does need a bit of a trim. It's just one stick growing up. I'll put a picture for you in the B-roll. I was trying to hang out for summer for that. I did just take a little top cut off it and take 2 leaves. What I really would like to do is do quite a significant chop on it, but that's not something I will do until the weather warms up and at least spring comes along. I've also got a note here on dusting leaves. So less sun, less light. Dusting leaves becomes a lot more important. And when I read this, I just groan. You guys know what I'm like or not like with dusting leaves. I can't stand dusting plants' leaves. Dusting for me is one of those chores, I don't know, it physically makes me sweat. I really try to avoid dusting plants, and so my solution to that is putting them outside in the rain or bringing them out here and giving them a nice hose, putting them in the shower. So if we go back to photosynthesis, thinking of plants' leaves as solar panels, so they use the leaves to absorb the sunlight to then turn that into oxygen and food themselves. And so if you've got a dusty solar panel, you're not going to be able to absorb as much light. And if you think it's in winter in general, these guys are getting less light, so it's even more important to keep their leaves clean so they can maximize how much light they're absorbing. And then I've also put a note here with regards to feeding. So for me, I just use an organic liquid fertilizer that's also suitable for hydroponics, because a lot of my plants grow in straight water, so in hydro or in semi-hydro self-watering. I'm a bit lazy at the best of times. I would love to say in summer and spring that I add plant food with every water. I don't. Certainly in winter, I back off to maybe every second or third water. Some people in Plant Club said just like it's a breather from the pests, they also take it as a breather from plant food as well. So it's just a perfect example of there's no one right way with regards to plants. I guess I keep an eye on my plants. If I notice that my plants have slowed down, I definitely will back off even more. But because I have a lot of my plants in grow lights, or for example growing under perspex, so like in semi-greenhouse sort of conditions, they do continue to grow. So I do continue to feed them mildly throughout winter. I don't stop completely. The main change for me in winter is actually that the sun, so we get shorter periods of sunshine, obviously, like anywhere in the world, but also the sun is lower in the sky. There's a number of my plants that I actually have to pull back from windows. So it's not so much about pushing plants towards the light, it's actually pulling them back because the light is coming through into our house at different directions. And so this is a perfect example behind me. In summer, this elephant ears love living here and does really, really well because the sun actually finishes further back. But in winter, the sun comes straight in and it's actually getting on some of these leaves. So I've moved it back here for the video today because I actually think it makes a nice background. But I have had to move this plant to the other side of the patio because it was getting far too much light here. This is my parent spider plant where I get all of those beautiful propagations from, those constant propagations. And I noticed that just some of the babies that are coming through were actually looking a bit average. I'll make sure I zoom this in for you guys, but some of these aren't looking the best. And I was thinking, what is going on with these? Because this is normally, it's just such an easy care plant. I never have any trouble with it. But the sun is actually coming in so low, it's hitting some of these babies. I'm always drowning in spider plant propagations because that parent plant behind me just gives me so many beautiful babies. But I have an additional excess of spider plant babies at the moment because I couldn't help myself. I didn't want them all to die. At the moment, I'm propagating more and more of these just to try and save some of those babies and to try and keep as many of them out of the sun. Whereas in summer, that's not even a problem. So you can see I've got my beautiful fiddle leaf that I just love showing you guys. Actually, I might just move the camera. I've got philodendrons in there. I've got my boxwood fern. Got a few more syngoniums, different coloured syngoniums there. My beautiful spider plant, of course. I always have snake plants in every corner of my house. My beautiful elephant ears. I love the dark stems on this plant. You guys remember it was back to, in about, was it September last year, it was back to what looked like a dead pot after it got really bad fungus. So grateful that it's come back. It was raining this morning. I put a thing about, I love rain on leaves. I got some beautiful photos of the rain on its leaves. And what else? Oh, the other thing is it gets enough light because we've got the perspex. I can grow a number of succulents in this area as well. So see, I've got some donkey's tail going really well here. I try not to touch it. You can just touch it and little bits come off. A little jade propagation there. Oh, and this one, another philodendron. Love the splash. I get the direction of the camera right again. And then likewise on the front patio, I've got my big monstera. Same, I've got some syngoniums, a very large variety of plants. When I researched with Chat, I said, these are the plants I've got on my patio, but what if I had other tropical plants? What sorts of tropical plants might you still need to bring in even in Brisbane? And this is what Chat said. If night temperatures dip below 12 degrees Celsius, cold sensitive plants like alocasias, peace lilies, philodendron micans, and some syngoniums might need to come inside. Also plants such as begonias, calatheas, and maidenhair ferns. I started talking about the front patio and I just realized I probably haven't ever shown you guys my peace lily. I guess it is definitely a plant that I take for granted. I got given it, I want to think it was for my 40th birthday. Just like the elephant ears, I've had it outside in the rain this morning. So this guy, not flowering at the moment, but gets so many beautiful flowers on it. And it's just been such an easy care plant for me. But it wasn't always an easy care plant. It wasn't really until I moved it out onto the front patio. This guy has never been healthier, so it is well and truly staying out on the patio. And then on our front patio where the peace lily lives, you can see the plants have got similar conditions. So we've got that perspex where the plants are getting that lovely light all year round. They just seem to love it out here. I'm taking winter as an opportunity to prepare for summer because the thing that I really do struggle with out here on the patio is definitely pests, particularly those caterpillars and those grasshoppers. And so this is my beautiful Monstera, my OG Monstera plant. And if you've watched some of my previous videos, you would have noticed my plant purge and my unboxing videos. I've got a lot of new plants lately, as well as those antique ladders. So I've been doing a lot of moving plants around. I tried so many different locations, but I just couldn't fit this guy anywhere inside without it being crammed up against a door or a window. That wasn't fair. This is such a beautiful plant. So I guess that's where the summer planning came in, because I was out here the other day that I talked about here. See how I'm just trying to walk around my dog so I don't trip over her. See how it's one stem, and it is absolutely beautiful. I've already taken a cutting off the top. I absolutely love it. I took 2 leaves from the bottom that were right down in the soil anyway, and then I took a top cutting off the top, just 3 leaves. I can't wait to show you guys that if it grows. Love the color, how lovely. I just love these leaves. So what happened then is I took the propagations, and so that gave me the motivation then to clean out. There were some spider plants here in this pot, and the reason I took the spider plants out is every summer they get absolutely hammered by caterpillars and grasshoppers, and I thought, Melissa, you really need to be preparing this patio for summer, because last summer I spent, oh my goodness, every single day I was out here looking for pests, because I don't like killing the caterpillars. I'll put something up on the screen for you, but they turn into these beautiful moths, and they're all part of the ecosystem. So be out here every morning looking for traces. So down here on the ground looking for traces that the caterpillars had been, and trying to find them and then relocate them. So the Dracaena, touch wood, is okay. The 2 Dracaenas, actually the 2 different types of Dracaenas are okay. The ficus is okay. My jade plant over there is okay with regards to grasshoppers and caterpillars. But then I turned around to my Monstera and I realized Monstera are a massive target for these caterpillars. It's a pretty big plant, so maybe over 2 nights that could literally go to sticks with these caterpillars. So I really do need to take this opportunity over winter, when pests are not quite as severe, to have a really good think about where I'm going to move my Monstera to, because if I leave this guy out here, it's not going to look like this for much longer. Another thing, if you look closely, so you can see where my beautiful girl's laying. So they're laying out here with me because we're about to go for a WALK, and every time she gets really excited, and as beautiful as she is, her tail has been doing this to the leaves. Like, this has only been out here for about 2 weeks, and I don't know that there's one single leaf that hasn't been damaged by her excitement. I've been trying to get her to go to a different spot when we're going for a WALK, but this is her spot where she normally stands to get her lead on. So it's also not working from that point of view either. So I need to find a new home, guys. And I really enjoy filming out here. This corner, my last few videos, actually, I've filmed out here. And I imagine the propagation's coming up here, and I'll put something vining coming out of the pot as well. But this spot is not for the Monstera. So I'll use this downtime over winter to come up with another location. I do have a pretty big snake plant inside in our lounge room that I am considering swapping over, because snake plants are actually okay for pests as well. Not good timing. Oh, there you go. Here's one I prepared earlier. She's just done exactly what I was telling you about, that poor plant. In general, the temperatures stay above 10 degrees here overnight in Southeast Queensland. Mind you, the other week, it sort of had been autumn. Like, autumn felt like it had been extended. It's only in the last 2 weeks or so that I've actually started dressing like it's winter, and it hit us all at once. And there were a few mornings where, for example, my son was going motorbike riding, and about 5 o'clock in the morning came and said, oh, my hands are actually frozen. Our weather app, it said it was 6.5 degrees, but it felt like 3.5 degrees. It went from autumn to that straight away, and it was like that for quite a few days. I actually did start getting worried about some of my patio plants, and I thought, wow, this is only the start of winter. What's the rest of winter going to look like? But we're now back in what I would class as normal for Brisbane weather. So this is one of my new anthuriums from one of my recent unboxing videos, and this is probably the only new plant that I've got that I'm just watching with interest as winter comes with regards to the humidity, because research did say they do prefer higher humidity, but they can adjust to ambient conditions. So we'll just see. So far, so good, touch wood. I actually repotted it this week. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. Because so in February, for anyone who's been on this channel for a little while, you would remember that I went away on holidays in February, so the middle of summer here for us. An inexperienced plant sitter and I wanted to make it as easy as possible for him. So I transitioned a lot of my smaller plants, so 20 centimeter pots or less, into self-watering. And ever since I've done that, I've just realized how much I rely on it. I absolutely love it. It's worked for the majority of my plants. There's very few plants that it hasn't worked for. So normally I prefer the clear pot inside the clear saucer for my self-watering setup, but I've actually transitioned so many of my plants, I've run out of clear pots, but I really should get Sonics. So slowly, as I become a little bit more confident with each of my plants and they look like they're doing well in the space, I've been breaking my rule of waiting 6 months for plants to acclimatize and slowly transitioning over to the self-watering pots, because I guess I've learned so much. I realized that with a lot of my plants, I was underwatering them. I feel blind without these self-watering pots now, because especially when I've got them in the clear pots, you can see the health of the roots, you can see them growing. Even in the black pots, if and when the roots come out of the bottom, I'll be able to see it. But most importantly, I can see when it needs to be watered. There's so many different self-watering pots out there. Please don't think this is the only way. This is just the way that I prefer to do it. I just feel like I've got the most control or the most understanding. I can see the plant the clearest when I do these DIY self-watering setups. And also they're pretty inexpensive as well. It's a pretty cheap way. It's only a few dollars per pot to do it this way. So what I do, show you on this one, for anyone who hasn't seen it, the bottom third, I'll do a semi-hydro mix. So something like PON, P-O-N, so about 1/3. And I've got another video. Oh my goodness, I've got so many videos to make for you guys. I've just bought some chunkier PON because the PON that I got here in Australia is a little bit fine. And I did find it can get a bit waterlogged depending on the plant. So I've actually just changed to a chunkier mix and I want to see how that goes. And then I put 2/3 on top of my chunky aroid mix, which is predominantly a combination of cocoa core, fiber and bark, and also perlite and a little bit of leca. And my plants absolutely love it. And as I said, I just realized I had no idea how much I was underwatering my plants. I'm surprised a lot of them were surviving. So when I repotted this week, I make sure I put the root ball of this plant above in that 2/3 that's my semi-hydro mix. And then I only ever fill the water to less than the 1/3. So the roots are not ever sitting in the water until they actually develop water roots. And then they can choose to go down into the water. This is a little bit dirty, I'm sorry, it's been sitting out in the garden. I bought a number of these online and look, they are great. See how it's got the string that goes down, or the wick that goes down into the water. So the idea is you put this inside the cover pot, so the plant will sit above the water and then these wicks will go down into the water and then the plant can choose to suck up as much water as it wants. And I found these okay. I couldn't get large enough innards. Are these innards? You want to call it, I guess we'll call these innards for all of my plants. So I was like, wow, I need to come up with another solution. But this is definitely a lot easier. Like, it's a lot more forgiving than guessing with the 1/3, 2/3. If I hadn't played around with, do I have leca? If I hadn't played around with the leca clay balls and understanding to put the water just down the bottom and eventually let the water roots grow down into it, I would have been a little bit less confident with this setup. But I have to say, most of my plants seem to be thriving. This is only the second Anthurium ever that I've owned. It's just that I really felt blind with this guy. It was very root bound. I think, did I take some photos? I may have taken some photos when I was repotting it. If I did take some photos, I'll make sure I put it up here for you. So it was very root bound. It was in quite a small pot, and I just thought, it's going so well. It's sitting in a south facing window and it appears to be growing even though it's winter. It's got some new shoots. I thought, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to transition it. And I guess that's a really easy way for me to learn just how much water it's using. It doesn't matter if we're transitioning summer, autumn, winter, spring. The sunlight as it enters your house is going to naturally change. That's something to keep an eye out for. So if you're not supplementing with grow lights, think about the process of photosynthesis. Plants use light to produce their food, but they also use water. So naturally, if they're getting less light, they're going to be photosynthesizing and growing less and therefore using less water. And I guess that's why I appreciate these self-watering pots, because I almost feel like I'm cheating. It's a really good way to monitor water levels in changing seasons and to watch exactly how much water your plants are using as your light changes, as your humidity changes. I feel a lot less blind with this plant now. In contrast, I bring in one of my other plants that I haven't changed yet. I think I told you guys if you watch the unboxing video, this plant makes me nervous. This is one of my new unboxing alocasias. All of the plants that I got, apart from my lipstick plant actually, are going really well. Let me see, can I show you? So it's just in regular soil. Thank goodness it looks a bit chunky. You can see in there, it has got some orchid bark in there by the looks of it. But underneath the orchid bark, there is still a lot of soil. So I don't grow any of my plants in soil. I grow them either in hydro, so all water, or in my chunky mix, which is the cocoa coir perlite combination, or in the self-watering pot, so in semi-hydro. So whenever I get a new plant, I am just itching to change out of soil, because particularly when it's a dense soil, you're just a little bit more prone to root rot, but the roots are getting less air. But also this alocasia is going really well at the moment, and I know that they're a little bit more fussy, I guess, and I'm just a little bit nervous about replanting this one in winter. But at the same time, I really feel blind because it's in a medium that I'm not used to, so it's in soil. It looks like it's got a good amount of bark, and I'm just doing the finger dip test. So for anyone who doesn't know about the finger dip test, I'm just sticking my finger into the soil and I'm watching for those first few centimeters of soil to dry out before I rewater the plant. So at the moment, I put my finger in yesterday. It's still damp, and so I definitely don't want to water it yet. It's been about a week and a half since I last watered this one. Actually, it rained, so I put it out in the rain. So it got a really good soak about a week and a half ago. But yeah, I'm a bit hesitant to repot it into my semi-hydro self-watering mix because it's winter and that's not an ideal time. But at the same time, I feel like I have a really big risk of overwatering this plant because I'm not a soil girl. So that's it for part one of winter plant care here in Southeast Queensland. As usual, I hope that you have enjoyed the video. You've picked up a few planting tips and tricks along the way. And if you've enjoyed this video, watch out for part two, where we talk all about the plants that are making me smile in winter, that are in rehab, and also some new additions that I've had to my collection. I always love hearing from you guys, particularly as this was a slightly different style of video to what I normally do. It really did feel like a lot more info dumping today than my usual more casual style of, I think a few people have said vloggy style of videos that I normally like to do. So let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed today's video. I hope to catch you for part two, which I'll be uploading in the next few days. So depending on when you're watching this video, it may have already been uploaded. And until my next video, take care guys, and remember, you've totally got this.